Welcome back to another episode of Veg Networking Canada, where vegan plant-based companies connect and collaborate. We honor, acknowledge, and respect that we are located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of many Indigenous peoples of Canada. Today, we have a special guest with us, a sales system strategist for online course creators, a champion for authentic human to human connection rooted in your values, your unique voice, and your passion. She's also a forest school practitioner to help children take charge of their own learning. Veg Networking Canada is pleased to introduce the founder of CEK Copywriting. Welcome, Cleoniki Kesidis.
Hello, Justin. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
We're thrilled to have you here to learn more about your own personal story, your own professional story. Let's start personally. And can you tell everybody listening who's here with us live and listening on their own, what led you to become vegan?
Yeah, good question. So it started when I was in university and I was looking for cookbooks about how to spend less money on food. Now that I had to cook for myself, I found one that was vegan. And that was my introduction to the concept. The book had like a little intro where it explained the whole concept behind veganism. I'd always been a big environmentalist, but had never like that just had never been connected for me before. So it definitely started from an environmental lens for me. That was already something I was really passionate about. And once that book and other resources drew that line, it was like, okay, well that's awesome, that's obvious. And then learned a lot more about animals and animal rights and all things like that. So yeah, it's been more than maybe 12 years. I don't even know. It was a gradual transition for me. Um, but it led to a very long time as a vegan.
Beautiful, amazing. So jumping gears professionally with what you have going on at CEK Copywriting and even what's the name of the forest school?
It's called Valleyfield Jus d'Or.
Okay,
I'm
beautiful.
located in Salaberry de Valleyfield in Quebec.
Amazing. Great. I won't try and say that again. Or I won't try and say that. So yeah, feel free to tell us basically about you becoming an entrepreneur and what's the origin story behind that? Was it with what you're doing now? Was it something previously? Tell us more.
Yeah, so my career got off to a rocky start. I had multiple false starts in putting together a career, and when the pandemic hit, I was 6 months pregnant and didn't really have a job, but I'd been doing a lot of freelance writing for a long time and decided to give it a go since we were all stuck at home. So it was totally a pandemic business. I jumped into copywriting into all of that while I was just sitting on my bouncy ball, pregnant, and kicked off my business at the same time that I popped out my baby, and we all just hung out at home in the pandemic, and that's where it all started. My goal was to try to get my business profitable before the parental leave payments ran out, and I got there. So it was a pandemic business, and it absolutely was. Yeah, after several tries and careers where I was really unhappy, it was just magnificent to find something that still makes me very, very happy. It's been like going on 5 years now, and it's something I enjoy so much. And then for the forest school, that's something I also encountered a little bit by accident, around the same time actually. But I was moving around a lot, so didn't really have the ability to do something that's local like that. But I finally settled in here in Quebec, and I decided to get certified and kick off my own forest school here in my smallish, medium-sized-ish town. So yeah, that's brand new. That just started in September, so that's still a baby, but yeah.
Amazing. And before we went kind of live and started recording, I heard you ask the question to somebody else who's here with us. You framed it as like, what's the vision? And that's the basis of the next question for you is where is your brand going in the future?
Yeah, I love that question. So for CEK copywriting, I'm moving more and more into supporting people who are really passionate about sharing their knowledge. So I love working with people who are really expert in their little specialty and have some really, really cool knowledge that they've gained and they want to share it with people. And that's something that is so surprisingly hard in today's world. We feel like, oh, we have social media, we have all this stuff. I can share my stuff with so many people and they're all out there and they are all out there, but so are a million other people who are trying to get their attention. And so it can actually be really challenging, even if you are totally an expert in what you're doing, you have a really valuable resource or course or something that you're sharing, you're offering this awesome thing, it can still be really, really hard to stand out from just all that noise. I mean, we know how much, so much noise we're all bombarded with all the time, every time we go online. So yeah, I love connecting people with that.
So great, so great. Now, in the copywriting world, the course creator world, have you noticed any transformations, or maybe not? Yeah, have you noticed any transformations or trends?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. So courses have blown up. They blew up in 2020 when everyone was at home and a lot of people switched online to take their businesses online. And I think that's awesome. I love that there are people out there sharing such cool skills and knowledge with people. But it does mean that this field has really changed and got a lot more crowded. So you see people trying a lot of different things. And there's two big trends that I see right now in that area of selling knowledge, right? These are knowledge products. It's there's a trend towards simplifying. I think in the past we saw people who would have like 10 different mini courses and small things and ebooks and like all this stuff going on. People are simplifying and honing down now, shifting to having really just one course or one membership or product or whatever it is that they're focusing on, maybe with something smaller as a little bit of like a hook or something to nurture people in. But they're simplifying. And I really like that. I think that it's easier for everyone. It's easier for the business owner because your life is a lot less complicated. And I think it's easier for the audience. If it's just like, this is the thing we're doing here, this is what we're about, it's a lot less confusing. The other trend that I see, which I also love, is that the people who are getting success right now and actually standing out are the ones who are based a lot more on being authentic and being different. And those are things that are bandied around a lot. But when you see someone who's actually doing that well and is truly being human and being themselves and being mission driven online, they stand out so much from all of the people who are just recycling professional nothingness. People who are just recycling the same comments, the same posts, they sound like everybody else. And then when you find someone who's really standing up for something, who's really passionate about what they believe in, who's really bringing their whole heart, sharing their story, those people are the ones that are standing out the most and getting the most success in this really, really crowded online world.
Awesome. And with your business, it's, like you said, 5 years. We always preface this one by saying, like, there's never any right or wrong answers. And also, sometimes some of our guests talk about this from the lens of their own personal life, that things that they've done in the past are currently doing and or their business. And again, like I said, it could be something you've done in the past or currently doing or maybe planning to do in the future, but it's giving back. Otherwise, more commonly known as like charity, but how do you tie like giving back strategy into your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I really love that question because it's something that's really important for us all to think about. I think many people would agree that we don't love being part of this capitalist system and this the world right now can be tough. And I do think that we all have to do our part, and that as entrepreneurs, we absolutely have a special power that a lot of employees don't have. And yeah, I think that that's the right word. We have a certain amount of power that people who are employed um, lack. So yeah, the big thing for me of giving back right now is through that forest school. So that's something I'm really, really passionate about getting people outside. I really think, as I mentioned, environmentalism was my route into veganism. And I think that environmentalism starts with spending time outside, especially when you're young. The way that I like to think about it is that this is really based on a love of nature, any kind of environmentalism. And for most people, I think veganism starts from that love for nature and love for animals. And you can't love something that you don't know. you can't love a stranger. If you want to foster a love for our planet and for nature in the next generation, they have to be in nature. And that doesn't mean like the wilderness. People can do this in cities. You can do this anywhere, as long as you're getting outside and building connections with actual animals and plants and the outdoors. So that's really, really important to me, and getting that business up and running and offering that to my community here in my new hometown, hopefully my forever hometown, is something that's really important to me. It's also so closely tied to Indigenous issues here in Canada. This is Indigenous land, this is Native land. And I love that organizing this for school is giving me the opportunity to bring in Indigenous speakers, to connect more with that community, and to share that knowledge as well, because I think that it's also really important for us here in Canada to be connecting children and adults, all of us, with our Indigenous neighbors and hosts.
Amazing. Um, in terms of resources, that could be books, podcasts, apps, websites, you name it, specific to resources that have helped you in your journey of entrepreneurship. Do you have any recommendations for others?
Yeah, absolutely. So the book that definitely shifted and became the foundation of a lot of my copywriting, specifically in marketing, is a book called Story Brand. And I'm going to blank on the name of the author. I want to say David, but I might be wrong. But Story Brand, if you look that up as one word, that's the book that I would absolutely recommend for anyone who wants to get into marketing, or improve their marketing, especially anyone who is on board with that trend of trying to be more authentic and trying to connect more heart to heart and human to human. The philosophy there is basically that we as human beings connect through storytelling. That's how our brains best absorb information. It's how we best remember things. It's how we understand each other, is through the context of stories. And it's teaching you how to communicate in your business through that same framework and those same techniques of storytelling. So that absolutely became the foundation of my work and my writing. And since then, I've been really focused on figuring out how best to sort of two directions, how to improve that authenticity and how to really bring your whole self to your writing. And there's a lot of, for that, what I'd say is go online and find someone who gives you that feeling as they're actually talking to a real person, and pay attention to how they market and how they write. It can be someone from a huge brand, it can be a tiny, tiny, brand new local thing, but you'll notice when it feels like that's a real human being talking. Pay attention to what they're doing. Whatever resonates for you is going to be someone who's hearing a voice that's similar to the voice that you can start to adopt. The other thing is strategy, and they go hand in hand and need to support each other. For strategy, a really foundational thing for me was the circuit sales system, which is a system for selling courses specifically, which is what I focus on right now with my clients. Um, it's an awesome, awesome system. There are a few others similar to it. That's the one that I tend to most highly recommend. But it's really about setting up things so that your business is less stressful and less manual. And I think there's a misconception that if you want to be authentic, it means you're doing everything really manually and you don't have any systems or structures in your business. And I disagree with that. I think you can be extremely authentic and human and really connect with people while also having structures and systems. I think of them basically like your boundaries within your relationships with close friends and families. You need to have that boundaries and that structure and those guidance when you're connecting with your audience as well, and that's what allows you to sustain that business.
Wow, thanks for sharing those resources. And does the author Donald Miller ring a bell for StoryBrand? Is
Yes,
that, yeah? Okay,
yes,
cool.
Donald, not David. Yep.
Close, close.
Terrible
Um,
remembering names.
awesome, awesome. Thanks for sharing those. That's so great. And now, second to last one for you. It's again kind of like open-ended, quite broad. Um, inspiration. When you hear
Hmm.
that word, what what comes up?
Ooh, I love that. I love that. Um, so I would say that our inspiration as entrepreneurs, we need to be getting something outside of work. And this is a tricky one for us because we love our jobs and we're so passionate about them and we've built these businesses and they are so important and all consuming. And it's easy, especially for those of us um, who turned like a hobby or an interest into our jobs. It's easy to lose sight of the other things that we could be interested in. So I really believe in feeding your creativity by reaching out to just other different stuff, just variety. Inspiration is really there's no new ideas in the world. We just recombine things. And if you want to be recombining things in interesting in different ways, you need to be pulling from all sorts of different places and different media, different hobbies, different interests, different passions, different books, different all sorts of different things. So I really encourage people if you're feeling like you're losing that inspiration on your entrepreneurial journey, you're losing that spark, you're losing that drive, um, reach out to more different things, explore more different things, and it's going to start stirring up new connections in your brain because that's what our brains like.
That's awesome. And that's touching slightly on the last question for you, which we'll get to in a second around like advice and lessons and tips and stuff like that. But somebody asked a question live, and that question is, do you remember the cookbook that you bought in college that introduced you to veganism?
I don't. It was a library book, so I don't have it. I got it at the library. I think it had some very boring title, or like quick, easy, and cheap vegan, like
Hmm,
just some nothing title that I don't remember.
no
I'm pretty
worries.
sure it would have had cheap in the title or affordable, because that's what I was looking for is affordable cooking.
Love it.
Um, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Yeah, no, that's all good. So on that touching off of your last question about inspiration, where you kind of to go into some advice about look outside maybe your lens of your industry and what you're doing day to day, because you'll be able to build new like neural pathways, thinking of different things and getting different perspectives and opening up blind spots and things like that. Do, again, last question, big open-ended one. Do you have any advice, lessons, or tips for other entrepreneurs?
Ooh. Yeah, that is a big open one. Obviously, very different depending on where you are in your business. If it's okay for me to speak a little bit to that course creator person who I'm most often helping, so I'm most familiar with them and their struggles. Um, I would say don't be afraid of being bold. Being bold online, having a bold personality, being different, being interesting, shaking things up works really well. And I love approaching that with the lens of experimentation. So my early careers were in science. So I was trained as a scientist, and I think that that brings such a lens, such a freeing lens, and it to your business. If you just go in with like, I'm going to try something, I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to try something. I'm going to look at the data. I'm going to, be grounded in reality, but I'm just trying new stuff. And it also ties in really with that forest school philosophy of free play. I think even us all as adults need a lot more free play in our lives and a lot more unstructured time just trying stuff. And that's what I would love to see again and again. And my clients will, oh, I'll meet with them, we start talking, and it's like, oh, you're holding back, I can't tell you how many times I've met someone on a Zoom call and they're interesting, they're dynamic, they're passionate, there's so much spark and life there, they're magnetic. And then you look on their website and it's just like, blah, 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 blah. Like there's nothing there. So be bring that boldness out. Don't be afraid to be splashy. Don't be afraid to repel the people that you don't want. Don't be afraid to try new things and shake stuff up and approach it with this feeling of experimentation and of play. That is what's going to make you stand out today more than anything. There's no tips and tricks and magic spells that will, ads and this and that and the other. Like at the end of the day, if you can bring that passion and that spark and that interest and that dynamic difference, that's going to help you more than anything else.
Get comfortable with playing and trying new things and being uncomfortable and letting it go and pivoting and
Mhm.
iterating and all that good stuff. Amazing, amazing. So Cleoniki, is there anything in today's conversation that maybe we missed that you want to bring up, announcements, anything that we maybe missed, or anything that we did touch on, but you feel like maybe there's a little bit more to touch on a little bit deeper? Anything like that? Just kind of no pressure, but the floor is open for you.
Yeah, I think I touched on this, and I'd like to just say a little bit more about the idea of structure, which I think some of us in business can be a little bit afraid of just really systematizing those things. This is something that's so important to me because I see so many entrepreneurs burning out, and that's such an issue for us, especially I find often with coaches and people who are sharing knowledge where they come so excited, so thrilled to meet other people, and it just ends up being a lot harder than they expected, which I think is always true. I don't think anyone has started a business and not had the experience of, oh, this is harder than I thought it would be. That's just part of the game. Um, but I think often then people hit this wall and they start to burn out and to just lose their passion for it. And that's terrible because I deeply believe that entrepreneurship is so freeing and so empowering for people. And I would love to see more people succeeding at doing this, especially if what they're sharing is really, really awesome, vital information that is helping people, that is improving lives. Um, so to fight that burnout, lean into structures. It's not selling out or it's not simplifying. I think sometimes people, like I said, they feel like that's less authentic. They feel like it's robotizing it. It's not. If you have a really authentic tone of voice, if you've built a brand that's really rooted in your values and in your mission, and I work a lot with people on how to build that in so that you can start systemizing things, you can schedule things, you can make this easier. And that frees up your time and energy for that play and that experimentation and improving and optimizing things instead of being in this grueling slog. It is supposed to be hard. Running a business is hard. It's not supposed to be grueling. It's not supposed to be miserable. If it feels grueling and miserable, you can fix that. And likely the thing that you need to fix that is some kind of structure, some kind of system that's going to take that mental load off of you. So I would encourage anyone who's in that phase, that struggling phase, confused, frustrated, all those feelings, look into how you can set up a system that will take the load off of you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Burnout's a big, big topic, and you're absolutely right. There's a quote by a fellow named Jocko, and the quote is discipline equals freedom.
Mm.
And you could essentially implement or swap out discipline and input systems.
Mhm.
Systems equal freedom for sure. So thank you so much. And that's worthwhile to touch back on that. And not to rush you, but is there anything else that you want to touch on or make any announcements about?
Um, I do have a workshop coming up, which is brand new. So if anyone would be interested, it's going to be focused on figuring out why your course isn't selling, which is something that is a struggle for a lot of people. So we're going to be going through the main reasons that I've come across that someone who has a really great course, it's just not getting as many registrations as they know it deserves to be getting. So that's something that people can reach out to me if they're interested in. The best place to connect with me is my website, which is cekkcopywriting.com, or on LinkedIn as Cleoniki Kesidis. I'm on there every day. So yeah, if that's something that you might be interested in, that would be great.
Well, you heard it here, folks. You can check out more with Cleoniki and what she has going on just in general, and also with the upcoming workshop on her website, cekkcopywriting.com. This has been another great conversation here at Veg Networking Canada with the founder of CEK Copywriting, Cleoniki Kesidis. Thank you so much, Cleoniki, for joining us. Everybody who's here with us live, thank you for joining us. And everybody who is listening to this, wherever and whenever you're listening to this, thank you so much for being here and joining in the conversation with us. We'll catch you soon on another episode of Veg Networking Canada. But for now, take care. Bye bye.